listening to the Startup Scale Up Show, a podcast that inspires entrepreneurs to create meaningful businesses and pursue their passions. My name is Demi Samande and I am a furniture manufacturer, best known for documenting my move to Lagos, Nigeria for hopes of business opportunities. And I'm sitting down with entrepreneurs from across the continent to talk about their process, the lessons they have learned, and how to make real impact. Welcome to Susu. This episode is sponsored by Blowfish Group. Blowfish is a destination in the heart of VI where you come to disconnect and relax far from the hustle and bustle of Lagos, a popular business hotel with 60 rooms, a pool, conference room, a gym, and multiple outlets of restaurants. Just as we all want to have good personal hygiene, we should all have good mental and emotional hygiene too. When looking at it in these terms, every one of us can take steps to improve our mental wellness. In entrepreneurship, this cannot be more crucial. In today's show, I am joined by two of my entrepreneurial friends, Keturah Ovio and Folakemi Alli-Balogun, to talk about well-being and its impact on our entrepreneurial journeys. Welcome, ladies. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
This is the first time we're having two guests on Susu.
Oh, at the same time?
At the same time.
Oh.
So,
must be a special episode.
well, my dear, we're going places, aren't we? We're coming up in the world. So, Keturah, thank you so much for coming on the show again. This is not your first time.
It's not.
And Folakemi, this is your first time on Susu.
Yeah.
But you've been meaning to come on. We just haven't had the opportunity yet, have we?
Yeah, life has been happening.
It does.
Today.
Well, this is exactly what we're talking about today, life.
Mm-hmm.
Now, everybody knows that Susu is very much about just discussing that business journey from all our perspectives as we experience it. But today I wanted us to kind of go in a little bit different and really talk about the things that come alongside that journey, the things that affects us intrinsically as entrepreneurs, and we don't necessarily talk about it in depth all the time. Today we're talking about our feelings.
Oh God, feelings.
We're talking about our feelings and the things that we have to do, the steps that we have to take daily as women in business, as people in business, as people doing business within the African environment, just to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. Yeah. So let's just sort of delve straight into it. What is well-being to you, Keturah? In terms of your journey so far, what is your idea of well-being?
This might sound too simple, but for me, it's inner peace, right? So being at peace with who I am, what I am, where I am currently, internally, and not minding like whatever external factors or like COVID-19 is happening. Like if I'm okay internally, not just emotionally, physically, financially, right? Just being okay and being at peace with where you are, understanding that this is a journey and not a race. I think for me, that is me being, mindful of my well-being and being okay with it.
Girl.
She's definitely thought about it, hasn't she?
But I haven't. But yeah, well-being for me, I think it's just feeling good and being able to, this might sound, just being able to be at one with myself. And when I say that, it means that I'm listening to all parts of myself, my body, my inner voice, because I find that sometimes my mind is not clear enough to listen to my inner voice. So I'm just on autopilot. So well-being for me is that state where it's like, I'm feeling good, everything is calm. I can press into myself and listen and, act from the inside out rather than from the outside in.
Yeah, so to add on to what you just said, sometimes, we feel like well-being is just about being okay. Sometimes it's okay not to be okay, and acknowledging the fact that, I'm not okay right now, and I'm aware of it. I think that's okay, because that's the first step to wanting to be okay. So if you're not mindful to know like what exactly is going on in your life, and you're not just compartmentalizing everything and just like I'm just gonna put this problem in this box and deal with you when I can. That is good, but then it's also bad in the long run. So like just being okay with the fact that I'm going through something, right and now. And I know this is a process. Like
it will pass.
It will pass. It's just another wave, just another, storm, and storms, it will pass. I think that's okay, right? So I don't want people to have the idea that well-being is just okay. I'm just good and happy all the time.
Well, this is a misconception, isn't it?
Yeah, you're human. You go through different emotions. You have to feel every emotion. You know, to be okay. And sometimes it's okay not to be okay.
You said something interesting, Folakemi, that ability to listen within, to actually listen to what your body and your mind is telling you. I find a lot of the time that, like you say, if you're always on autopilot and we're not taking that time to really check in and say, okay, I'm feeling this way. What is the reason behind the way in which I'm feeling? How can I sift through the rubble, the concoction of emotions that's going on right now? Because you're expected to be okay. You're expected to have everything together as an entrepreneur, as a whether it's a thought leader, whether it's a leader in a company or business. Even if you're somebody who's just starting out, very in early stages, we tend to be very hard on ourselves. To feel this pressure to always have it together, and we don't always give ourselves that time to really analyze what's really going on with us. Because I can't imagine being the best leader I can be when I don't actually know what's going on with me.
Absolutely.
What's happening with me. That's really, really interesting.
It's like a race. And even with myself, I've had to catch myself over the past few years. It's like a race to get back to normal. So when something happens, a setback, life comes with so many challenges. I want to skip over them as quickly as possible. Like, okay, when can things get back to normal? But I've had to be like, listen, this has happened to you sometimes it's my fault, sometimes it's no fault of my own, but you're in a situation that's less than ideal, right? Now I have to catch myself and admit and acknowledge that this has really got me down. This has made me feel embarrassed, I feel weak, I feel low. And that's hard. Okay, And like you said, sometimes you're so hard on yourself, sometimes you don't want to. It's even hard to share with even the people that are closest to you, to be vulnerable and be like, this is how I'm feeling. I don't have it all together. Because sometimes I feel like I have to live up to the expectations of people around me. Like, people see me and they're like, oh, wow, you have all your stuff together. You're so confident.
Are you that strong friend? The one people probably forget to check in on? Because...
Well, yeah, but the thing is, I used to forget to check in on myself as well. So I can't blame, So over the past few years, I've had to, calm down, acknowledge that, like you said, it's just a phase. It will pass. But, what is this here to teach me? What can I get out of this? How can I make sure that maybe this doesn't happen again in the same way? And, take the lessons from it. I don't even think anything is good or bad. I just
don't overthink it.
Yeah, just
overthink. I think overthinking is definitely one of the. Me personally, I struggle with it. I'm a thinker. I'm also very much a doer, but I carry a lot of. I play back a lot of things in my mind constantly, and those things tend to feed into self-talk. So negative thought processes, the things you're saying to yourself. So being hard on yourself is very much linked to beating yourself up, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
You don't really beat anybody up as much as you beat yourself up. Yeah. Do you find that to be the case for you as well?
Absolutely, because I hold myself to, the highest of standards. Like apart from the pressure of being who people think I am, there's also who I want to be, and I hold myself to that standard as well. But what I've learned is that, it's not by the way to be who you want to be is not by ignoring who you are now and trying to pretend that, you need to stop actually acknowledging, go through it. What's behind who I am now? What's driving me? What are the little thoughts that I don't pay attention to that are constantly popping in and out in my day?
Growth, right?
Yeah.
So that process of evolving as a human being. So we know where we want to be, but we don't always, and we hold ourselves to such high expectations that we forget that it's a transition. So those transitional moments don't really get the attention I feel that they need, they deserve. And I think that's really where we get lost a little bit in ourselves, because it's like you don't understand that in order to be that person you aspire to be, it doesn't mean who you are right now is any less important. So we don't give that person, that individual, that inner, I'm going to call it the inner child. I'm just going to say that. The inner child, the attention that it needs to say that it's okay. It's going to take you time to evolve. Yeah. But in the meantime, you still deserve all the love and care and patience whilst you're transitioning. And for me, I personally feel like with all the work I've been doing on my self-talk, I'm having to realize that there is a little child in there that is basically saying, hello, can you just not be so hard on me, please?
Don't forget about me.
Yeah, can you just chill out a little bit and don't be so, don't ignore me, I suppose, sometimes. And I think that takes it requires you to kind of put on your big girl pants and admit that sometimes.
It does.
Yeah. And to really just do the work. So how have you guys, and I know this, this is not an assumption. I know this sort of fact because A, you're my friends, and B, I know the type of friends that I keep. And I also know that there's certain things that we probably all do in order for you to be successful in entrepreneurship or business or whatever career that you're doing. There's a certain mentality that you adopt. So I know for a fact you guys do the self-work is basically what I'm saying. So in terms of doing your self-work, what are some of the things, some of the habits that you adopt, particularly speaking of self-talk and just making sure you're processing your self-talk the way it should be, that healthy way?
So for me, I try to every morning, and I hate to be one of those people that says, oh, I have a morning routine and, there's certain things that I need to do every morning. I've always found that
that's me. I have a morning routine.
Yeah, I've always found that to be a bit intimidating when I hear other people say, I have to do it. I wake up at 4 a.m. and I go running. But the truth is, I only realized, a few weeks ago that, subconsciously I've been doing those things. So one thing that I do before I speak to anyone in the morning, before I check my phone, before I do anything, I do my meditation, even if it's 3 minutes, even if it's 5 minutes. Oh my gosh,
it's so important.
That moment of quiet is so important because it helps you collect your thoughts. And again, it's helped me realize. So you remember when I mentioned that my well-being is when I can listen from within. And it's helped me realize when I'm blocking myself from listening to myself. So the way I feel in the morning when I'm doing my morning meditation dictates to me like, listen, you're trying to ignore something that's being told to you from within, right? So my meditation is very important. I do, after that I do some studying. If it's the Bible, if it's something, right? I study something for a few minutes. And I just take that time to collect my thoughts. I try and do some stretching, some yoga. Sometimes I'm really lazy with that, but I try and do that as well. I try to, have my lemon water in the morning. So I have
You do?
Yes, I have.
That's
hot
why
water.
she has the abs of the gods.
So before I do anything, I have lemon water, cinnamon, apple cider vinegar, and some ginger, and I just down it.
Every morning?
Every morning, huh?
In one mix.
Yeah, in one mix.
That's what I pretty much just did this morning.
And I drink it with a straw so it doesn't affect my teeth.
Wait, that affects your teeth?
Yeah, the acidity in lime and apple cider vinegar.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I can see. Okay.
So I do that, and then I have water. And just taking this, okay, then I wash my face, obviously. And then taking the steps to do those things makes me feel like I'm taking the time out for myself. And I'm taking the time to listen to myself. And I'm setting the tone. How do I feel today? What do I need to do? Sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough, right? But if I don't take those few moments in the morning, I won't realize that I feel like I'm not doing enough. Or that I'm being plagued by something I haven't done and it's hiding somewhere in my consciousness. But if I don't do those things and I just keep going, pick up my phone and I miss it completely.
Does it catch up on you?
Oh, it does.
At what point in the day do you feel it catches up on you?
I mean, there's no set time, but sometimes it can just be a prompt, like I receive an email or a phone call or something, and then everything just comes pouring back, and I feel completely like, oh my God, I should have
feel deflated.
Yeah, like I should have taken the time to realize, okay, I haven't done this. I should do this. I should prioritize this. I should, I feel this way. There might be certain triggers in the day for certain things, right? Because I find myself like I'm not the kind of person who has like outbursts or anything like that. But I find that at certain times of the month, I'm more prone to have my triggers explode, right? And if I don't check in the morning, there's no warning. So I don't know to hold myself back. And I've been in a couple of situations where it's like maybe someone says something or someone has been saying something and I've been letting it go, like a client, or I've been letting it go. And then all of a sudden it's just like, for me, I don't know, I'm really bad at pretending. I don't know how to pretend. You know, so one thing I've learned is that I don't always have to say how I'm feeling. I've learned how to be quiet. I've learned how to bite my tongue, because it's not every situation that requires you to talk or requires you to share. You know, just because you're feeling something right now doesn't mean that you need to say it.
You don't always have to respond in the moment.
In the moment. But I found myself like some days like letting it all out, where people are like, hey, are you okay? Because you're not usually
are those moments the ones that are the tiniest of events and that just completely tips you over?
It might seem like nothing. It might seem like, wow, you know, you're not usually like this. But it's like, hey, I didn't take the time this morning to realize, like, listen, this thing has been taking me off. I need to deal with the situation. And it might come up like this in this way. And when it comes up, I'm forewarning myself, don't react in this way. Take the time out.
Because you reminded yourself first thing in the morning to prepare for whatever's going to happen.
This might happen, this might happen today. This might come up today in this email, in this phone call, in this. How are you going to react? Think through it. So there's nothing better than thinking through a particular situation and being able to see it before it happens, so that you're prepared when it does come up, right? So taking those few moments, and it doesn't take a long time. You know, I find oh God, why do I have to do all this? But I find that it's absolutely necessary for me before I start my day to do this.
So for me, meditation in the morning is basically, I see it as me filling my cup. First thing in the morning. I fill myself up with as much patience as possible. I fill myself up with as much gratitude as possible. I fill myself up with as much patience, gratitude, that sense of you can handle anything, that reminder that whatever comes up today, you can cope with it. And just like you said, when I have moments when I've not done that meditation, when my cup is half filled or not even filled up at all, everything for me is a trigger. Everything is the world's coming to an end. And I find myself falling into that rabbit hole. Maybe over the smallest things. It could be traffic. It could be somebody cutting me off. Like even yesterday, someone reversed into my car, and I was livid.
Oh God!
I was livid, but I was still operating on the meditation from the night before. So I went, and then I went. Do you know? Because I still had enough patience in there somewhere just to tap into. Yeah. I didn't even stop. Well, I stopped. I gave him that look of really, but I didn't even get out of my car.
Yeah.
I didn't even check the car. I just thought, you know what? Once I park, once I get home, I'm just going to keep moving. Yeah. This guy's not in a position to pay. He's not going to want to pay for this. Why am I going to exhaust any energy trying to have a conversation about it? So those moments happen in your day to day, and I think just tapping into that patience definitely helps me. What about you, Keturah? What are you doing?
So I wish I could say, you know, I wake up in the morning, I exercise for 10 minutes, or just people just see me and assume I'm that, you know, vegan, exercise, you know, fit family.
It's the naturalista in you.
Yeah, I guess. But one thing I've found that really works well for me is the first thing I do in the morning. Yes, I touch my phone, but I don't open any social media. I don't click on any notifications. What I do instead is I read for about 10 minutes, anything, 10 to 15 minutes, because that way I'm filling my mind and my body with the kind of energy I want to, have for the rest of the day, right? Filling my mind with something positive. And I also remind myself to, today be kind to yourself. You don't have to have everything. You don't have to check every box. And I'm a box checker. I am a box checker, right? Like I have this to-do list app that I write out everything that I want to do today. I put deadlines with time, like 11:59 p.m.
Oh wow.
I was here by 7 this morning. Yeah. Come on, what do you expect?
Well, let's just cover our faces in shame.
So it's like I have like a to-do list, and I create tasks and I break them down, as minute as possible, just for the fun of just checking. Like
It's satisfying, isn't it?
That is very satisfying.
It is satisfying. So like I have this, long list of to-dos.
Are you writing them out?
I do.
Or you type? I'm a typer.
So I type. So I use this app called Trello.
Trello?
I've been using it for years for personal and for like teamwork. So like I put all my to-dos there, like everything I need to do today, then I move them one by one. Okay, I'm currently doing this and then I've done this. So
it does feel good, doesn't it?
It does feel good.
It does feel good. I know that.
It does. So for me, it's like it's a little hack, right? But you can see how much satisfaction I derive from doing that. Right, first from filling my mind with the kind of thought process I want to have for the rest of the day. It's, reminding myself to be kind to myself and also to be kind to others. And then, checking off my boxes one by one. So I think, and for me, I also also remind myself that I may not, things could happen. Like I could decide to have 5 meetings today, but then on the trip to one meeting, I spend 3 hours. Obviously, that eats into my time to do other things. Yeah. So I remind myself that I don't have to get everything 100% today. I can only control what I can control. And these external factors, I have to also be mindful of them and build that into like my other to-dos for the rest of the day. So I think that little hack has really helped me to stay positive. And just some days, even with all that satisfying, checkbox I'm doing, my body's just not feeling. I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to take the rest of the day off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in between the day when I feel like my mind is going to explode, I take a time out, like an hour, 30 minutes. I take a power nap, or I go read my book of the day, one chapter, one page, 5 pages, for that set time. And I feel refreshed because I stopped looking at my computer, or I stopped having meetings, and I did something else, and that filled my mind, revived, my energy, and I'm ready to take on, whatever comes next. So that works
those
for
are
me.
fantastic tips. Just going back to what we're I'm going to talk to the people who tend to feel guilty.
Don't.
People like me who tend to feel guilty when we're taking time off work or when things are not going right, and our natural disposition is to be like, let me work through the frustration just so I can go home, go to sleep at night and feel that I've accomplished something. I want to speak to those people because I'm learning very quickly the power in taking those breaks. And not beating yourself up about it or not feeling guilty that you need to take breaks. Exactly. I'm learning, probably in the last 6 months, I've been learning that. And I've never had so much breaks in the breaks I've had in the last 6 months. I don't think I've ever had that in my whole 10 years of running my business. Because I'm very much like, go, go, go. I work through the tiredness. And at times I find that focus it can be good, but it can also be very damaging.
Yeah.
So now I'm learning that it's very good for me when I'm at my peak in productivity to have balanced it with the things that actually nourish me now naturally. The things that nourish me naturally, I'm finding is spending time with friends. Oh my gosh, I'm a people person. I naturally derive energy and strength from being with people, spending time with my friends, having a good glass of wine. We'll go into why it's a good glass of wine. For like I'm the wine expert. So enjoying a nice glass of wine with friends, having a sit down moment to just talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Just talk about your feelings.
Even if it's work stuff, basic work stuff, just sharing and just having that human connection. I live for that. So I'm finding that in moments where it's becoming too much, taking those breaks, whether it's 2:00 in the afternoon, does it really matter?
It doesn't.
If it's 11 at night, does it really matter? Do the things that really nourish you and give you back that energy that you've basically spent trying to be great, right? So what are some of the things that you're doing, Folakemi, in terms of balance and nourishing yourself again and replenishing?
So I'm the sort of person that if I need to take a break, I will take a break. If I need to sleep in the middle of something, I would excuse me. Like, I've never had an issue taking myself out of something because I know what it can like. I'm the sort of person that if I decide to, laser focus on something and neglect myself, I won't eat. I won't sleep. I've been through situations like that where it's like, oh my God, it's 7 a.m. I haven't slept from the night before and I'm shaking. Oh my God, and I also forgot to eat. So, but what do I do now?
Oh,
do
wow.
I sleep first or do I eat first? But I'm too tired. So, like, I've been there before and I'm just like, this is not worth it because it spirals.
It does.
It spirals. Like,
well, the older you get as well, right?
it's like, I did that yesterday. I'm not going to die if I don't need to get. And then you see the next thing, I haven't eaten for 2 days. And I feel, so for me, I don't, I listen to how I'm feeling. If I feel like I need to take a nap, like even now, like obviously it's easier when I'm working from home, you know, my bed is just right there. But it doesn't matter what situation. I've been in meetings where I've had to excuse myself to take a nap in the car. Like, and this was even when I was like in the corporate world, because I know how I've felt when I've been at my lowest, when I've neglected my well-being, my physical. I don't do that stuff anymore. So I listen to myself. And there's some days where it's like, I don't need a break. I allow myself to sleep for as long as I need to. But there's some days where I don't need a break. I can start working at 10 and keep going until 10 and not realize that, oh God, you know what I mean? But I feel good. So I really listen to myself. I think it's really important. Even if it's a backache or, you know, I start to feel like some sort of headache, I'm very in touch with my body. So when something's not right, I know, you know.
I know that.
Yeah.
She's
so
very
in tune. So I just try to listen to but your body will tell you. Like, it's not, you know, you just need to pay attention and listen. So I give myself what I need in terms of rest and work. You know, and sometimes I reward myself. You know, like, you know, at the end of the day, I'll watch a show, you know, a show that I like or whatever. I keep things I like. So I would never, for example, watch a show in the middle of the day. I feel guilty doing that. I don't do that. But yeah, I just listen to myself. If I'm hungry, if I need to sleep, I need to sleep now. And a power nap, a 10-minute power nap.
They're very powerful.
Very powerful. Like, I've seen situations like, or, you know, sometimes I'm working, I don't want to break my concentration. I don't want to be distracted because, you know, if I get up and make a meal, then my train of thought will be lost or whatever. So I try to keep something handy just so that I don't have to, you know, maybe get up and then it will take me like an hour to make something to eat it, to come back. And by then all the creative juices are gone, right? So I try to plan for these things. But the most important thing I would say is that I listen to myself. I listen to my body. I take a break when I need to. I don't, because I feel like there's something called sleep shaming. Like, there's so much glamour that people try to say, oh my God, you're still sleeping at this time. So that's what I need right now. You know what I mean? Like, for me,
I've never heard that term before, but I see what you're saying there.
Where people try to say, well, you're still sleeping. Well, yes. And if I have to do work, I will get up and do the work feeling refreshed. Obviously, there are times when I can't sleep for as long as I want because there's a deadline. But those things don't happen every day. So I will make the sacrifice where required. But in the natural rhythm of things, I take what I need when I need it, regardless of the judgments.
Have you found that this idea of putting your well-being first and foremost before anything else, even before business, have you found that it's affected your business in any way, or your success or growth as an entrepreneur?
I feel like yes and no. I feel yes because, you know, when you have an idea of the way things should be, it's like, you know, if I sleep less, I'll have more business. So because I'm sleeping more, then I have less business. I think you can just tailor, you know yourself, right? You can just tailor things to suit who you are, right? So for me, for example, I work best at night. But that doesn't work for certain types of business, right? So in certain situations, I can be like, oh, you know, it's going to affect my success. No, actually, how about you find those types of... I have clients who we can be dealing with stuff at like 2 a.m. And they're like, wow, you're always awake. How come you're always awake? No,
because you slept at 12 in midday.
Do you know what I mean? No, the reason why I'm awake, you know what I mean? Like, I find myself a lot... I don't work well with certain types of clients. Like, somebody that needs me to be somewhere at 7 a.m. alert all the time, it won't work, right? So I try to adapt. Like, okay, flexible situations allow me, as long as the output is there, it's correct, it's on time, it works. You know what I mean? But you can't fit a round peg in a square hole. In a situation where your mental health is affected if you're not getting enough sleep and you go and get a job that's, you know, requires you to be up for, I don't know.
You need to do something about it.
You need to do something about it. So it will affect you if you feel like there's only one way to do things. But I feel like if you know yourself and you know, just put boundaries in place. Like, it's not the end of the world. You will find, because I feel like sometimes you just feel like, oh, I need to get everything, I need to do it. No, you don't have to do everything.
There is a sense of rush, and I'm going to put my hands up. I'm one of those people. I
feel like you're running out of time.
I always feel like I always have this sense that time is running out. Yeah. Time is running out. I want to do everything, accomplish everything in a day. It has served me because I feel like I have grown. I've grown very well by applying that mentality that time is not going to wait for no man. I'm going to do what I need to do, and I'm going to do it now. I'm going to sacrifice whatever I need to sacrifice to achieve what I need to achieve now. And it has served me. I'm not going to lie. But I think that this journey, it's a marathon. It's not a
sprint.
It's not a sprint.
Yeah.
So we need to understand that if we're going to be in this long term, we need to understand that there's a season for everything. Maybe when I was 10 years younger, I had that energy to just work. I could work. I'm an architect by training. So we're used to staying up ridiculous hours and going on no sleep for days. So it's that I've carried that into my business. And for a long time, it definitely served me. I saw how my business grew. But now at this point in my life, it's like, how long do I want to stay in business?
Do you want to burn out?
I don't want to burn out. And you feel that sense. We look good, guys. We are gorgeous women. But I like to think we are also approaching maturity in our journeys and in our stages in life. So there's a certain point in your life where you really have to take care of yourself if you want to keep going. And that sense of guilt, that shame, that sleep shaming, I love that word, by the way. I'm going to throw it around this week or next. That sleep shaming, that guilty feeling of I've not done enough is going to be the death of you for me if you're not careful. And so it's happened to so many people, and we hear the stories, but we don't want to believe it because we always think we're different. It's not going to happen to us, but it will if we don't check in now. And I think post-COVID, and I want to move to you, Keturah, post-COVID, how has well-being amplified for you? Has it even amplified at all? For me personally, I feel like it's changed a lot in my perspective on business. But I want to know, just share with me your thoughts on it.
It definitely has been made top priority for me because I'm pretty much like you, where you have an architect,
mentality,
mentality, and I have an engineering background. So when you're building software and you have a deadline, you're working for a company, working for a client, you don't care if
you haven't slept.
You've got a deadline, we've got a deadline. You've got to deliver, right? We were talking earlier when I was saying like at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., my boss used to message me. I was like, nah, I'm not doing this. You live upstairs from the office. I have to travel flipping 1 hour, and you're messaging me at 2 a.m. to fix a bug and be at work before 8 same day. No, it's not going to happen. And then, it was cool, right? Because you were young, you felt invincible. You felt like, you could just run with it, right? And not feel, the impact on your body. But right now, I think because of COVID, the last 6 months, I have taken time out to really listen, internalize, deal with all those little boxes that I sealed up, dealt with things I didn't want to deal with. And it prompted me to realize that my well-being, is more important, right? And, with COVID, no one is going to require you to have a physical meeting. If you can Zoom in. Like, have a Zoom meeting, have a Skype, Google Meet, do whatever you need to do. If a physical meeting is not necessary, then don't, right? And everyone, this has been the reality for us in tech, but like the rest of the world has caught up to it now, which is great, right?
You guys were doing Zoom from 10 years ago?
Oh my God.
Well, it was Skype, and then, Hangouts and Zoom came along. But for me, it's more like realizing that I can, stretch myself, but I shouldn't. And now I don't want to. And ultimately, because as entrepreneurs, as founders, you realize sooner than later that you build businesses to fit your lifestyle. So what kind of life do you want to live? What kind of life do you want? Because that's why you started a business. It gives, you want to change the world, you want to make money, but also give you the flexibility to live life on your terms. So when you realize that I'm not building my business on my terms. I'm building it. Obviously, you can't slack, right? You still have to keep, you still have to accomplish and, hit your milestones. But it's more about understanding and trying to be flexible with how you work and being mindful of your well-being. And that, for me, the last 6 months helped me to deal with it. That's why I was like, it's okay not to be okay. And realizing that this is just a phase. It's a challenge, it's a hurdle. You'll cross it, you climb it. If it's too high, you get a ladder. Somebody will lift you up. You get a leg up. I was telling someone the other day, I was like, if one door closes, open it again. It's a door. That's how it works.
It shuts and opens.
It shuts and opens. Like, open the door, break the door, break
the window, break the wall, break it all down.
Or build your own window or your door, right? So it's, for me, it's like mental well-being, physical well-being, emotional well-being has been very important, and realizing that it's okay to be vulnerable, especially as women. I think because when well, for me, I guess, and you as well, we're in industries that is male dominated, so you have to prove yourself 3 times more than the average person, the average male. So that subconsciously puts you under pressure. But just realizing that, even though there's that pressure for you to over-deliver, it's also okay for you to underperform sometimes, right? Because that is, like you said earlier, there's a lesson there. What do you take out of it? You can fail multiple times, but it's the get up that matters.
That's the most important.
How do you get up? How many times do you get up? Do you get
How
up?
long does it take?
How long does it take
for you to get up?
So it's a hurdle. You will cross it, but you'll be fine. So for me, it's like, I'm gonna sleep. I'm doing 7 hours each day, trying to get.
I'm working on it. I'm not gonna lie. I barely get 7 hours, barely get 5. But I'm working on it.
But if you do 5 at night, try to squeeze in 1 or 2 during the day, because it adds up.
The thing
is,
is,
that power nap, take 4. 30
power
minutes
naps
in 4
in
times.
the middle of the factory.
Just be like Folakemi. Go
In the
into
middle
your
of a
car
factory
and
full
lock
of
yourself
men.
up.
I'm not falling asleep there.
No, in your car.
No, not even in my car.
So for me, I really hate having to sleep during the day, because it's an indication for me that something is not right. So I'm the kind of person that, as I'm up, I'm gonna keep going until 2 a.m. today. But if I break that, maybe I sleep at 2 a.m., then I wake up at 5, and then I have to do something. Then during the day, I'll have these little bursts of tiredness, which I don't like. I don't like to feel. However, if I do feel them, I will not ignore them.
You should take it. I'm not a middle of the afternoon type of sleeper. I don't tend to get tired because, like I said, I'm a machine. I think I'm a machine. I'm slowly learning that I'm not so much. But naturally, what I have been doing, I just power through the day, and then sometimes when I don't get enough sleep, I'll probably just decide that, okay, this afternoon I'm just going to stay home. If I'm outside, I'm not going to be sleepy. And if I do feel for any sense that I want to sleep, okay, I'm going to get in my car and I'm going to drive home and then find something to soothe me, because I'm the type of person I need to be soothed to sleep.
Oh, wow.
I don't sleep at the drop of a hat.
Okay.
This is why it's very easy for me to say, okay, it's 12 midnight, I'm going to try and go to bed now. And then my phone vibrates and I'm like, okay, let me just check that email. And an hour goes by and I'm still working. So work for me is a natural, and I think it's something that I've learned, and I need to now unlearn it. That. And I'm working on it. So now I take days off. So I don't need to be in the factory every single day. Some days I will just work from home. And COVID-19 has taught me how to work from home. So I can just say, okay, I'll work half the day, help my laptop, and the other half I might just be like, let me just catch up with friends. Let me call my mum and spend an hour on the phone and just talk to her about whatever she wants to talk about, so I can break away from my own bad habits. So that's what I've been doing. But just going off what you were saying, Keturah, if I want to sort of pose to you, because for me it's like we give up our freedom for money. then somehow we start spending our money to buy back our freedom. It's a weird cycle, a vicious cycle. That's that's basically what it's been happening. Post-COVID, that mindfulness, that awareness, that retrospective, moments. What's more important to you now? Is it money? Is it time? Is it even I don't know, some sort of recognition. What is really the most important thing to you now as an entrepreneur mid your journey? Still moving, still growing, still evolving. What is the most important thing to you now post COVID-19?
Inner peace. Inner peace.
Girl, that is ambitious. So.
I know. It's even more ambitious than, whatever financial success that you can strive to attain in this life. Because you can have all the money in the world, like you said, and then you're still not at peace with yourself or like with where you are in life. So for me, it's inner peace, just being okay with me, where I am, my journey.
What are the things that you feel that you are doing? Because I really want our listeners to really grab those hacks. What are the things that you are doing to go about really finding that inner peace, and not just finding it, but keeping it?
Yeah. So I read a lot of books, right? And I'm also being mindful. And I think mindfulness is something that is very rare. A lot of people are not mindful. We're not mindful in how we talk to people. We're not mindful in how we react. We're not mindful in, look at the average driver in Lagos, for example. Nobody's mindful. Right? Everybody wants to go first. It's green, let's go. Yeah, right? It's my right of road, so I have to go. You're not being mindful, right? So for me, it's like how I do a little bit of replay, right? So all those, like I mentioned, all those boxes I've, shut away, I'm opening them up. I'm dealing with things, and realizing, okay, this happened. This person really made me unhappy, but like, what was my part in that? And accepting, that I had a part to play, and I could have done better, right? And perhaps the situation would have ended differently. And then forgiving myself, because a lot of times it's easier for us to forgive other people, but we're the hardest, it's the hardest to forgive ourselves. So like forgiving myself and saying, I didn't act right, in this situation. I apologize to myself and that person, and I'm going to forgive myself and know that I'm not perfect. Obviously I've grown from like where I was 5 or 10 or 15 years ago today, but I still have a whole lot more to learn. So I think that checking in, replaying situations in our head, even if you feel you were right, but could you have acted differently? Because at the end of the day, if you realize that everything I do and every way I react is going to cost me the inner peace that I feel, because if someone upsets you, you're going to be angry, you can't sleep at night. You're just fed up. You just want to, I don't know, break a glass or something. It's like
break everything.
Even if you're right, the other person was at fault. But like, how could you have reacted differently in that situation? How can you protect your inner peace? And I tell people all the time, forgiveness is not for the other person; it's for yourself. Because
it truly is.
You can sleep better. Like you have no weight, there's no grudge, nothing.
You breathe better. You look better.
You do.
The skin glows.
Yeah. Mind doing your business too.
Yeah, drink some water.
Yes, a lot, because it's a chip on your shoulder, isn't it? And there's a lot of people walking around here with chips on their shoulders.
There are.
Every country, every community, everywhere you go, people have chips on their shoulders.
Yeah, even me sometimes. I need to remember today.
Oh yes, that self. Yes, you hold yourself accountable.
You do.
You have to hold yourself accountable. But it takes a lot of maturity, because it's not always a case of just being wrong or right.
Yeah.
And majority of and I think the more self-work you do, the more you realize that in every situation you find yourself, and you definitely had a role to play.
Yes.
It takes a lot of maturity
to accept that.
Not only to accept it, but to take the steps to mend it, to correct it, and like you said, to forgive yourself, and then to understand that you are human. You do make these mistakes.
You make mistakes.
It's okay for you to make those mistakes, but it's not okay to not accept your part in it. Yeah. I call that gaslighting, by the way, but that's a whole new topic. That's a whole new topic, girls. But I think it's definitely been a very interesting 6 months for entrepreneurs, for us. I know it's been incredibly challenging for you as well, Keturah. And girl, Folakemi dear, we need more wine.
We're gonna need more wine.
We need more wine to get through the remainder of the year. But I definitely like to think that we've all come a long way
in our journey.
And I think that this time and this period has definitely afforded us the opportunity to grow, to stretch ourselves as entrepreneurs, as women, as young women, as individuals, as people, as humans. And I can only hope that we continue to grow and stretch and do more mindfulness.
Yes.
Yeah.
And protecting our inner peace.
Yes,
Ooh, I like that. So just sort of moving on very quickly, I want to talk about breathing. I know we touched on meditation a little bit, but the art of breathing. I like that one. That was nice.
Yeah.
I actually felt that.
I felt it too.
I felt that.
Yeah.
The art of breathing. And I don't think we breathe enough. Let me tell you guys, I realized in this past 6 months, during this COVID period, I don't breathe very well.
Why?
I say that because doing meditation
You
and
start paying
practicing,
attention.
yes, I started practicing my meditation daily.
Yeah.
I started doing more research and delving in deeper in my meditation, my yoga, my mindfulness. And I realized that the way they were telling me to breathe is not the way I've been breathing.
Yes. Even when they tell you, pay attention to your breath, don't try to force it. I'm like, if I pay attention,
I'm actually, my
Just doing
stomach,
that,
when I breathe in, my
doesn't go in
my
at
stomach
all.
doesn't go out.
Yeah,
It goes in.
Yeah, all that. Yeah,
It's really weird. So the art of breathing is really, really important. Now, I know that you guys obviously practicing mindfulness yourself. What are some of the ways in which you are breathing and some of the things that you are doing? Or some of the things you're maybe even doing wrong that our listeners need to be aware of? Mine is breathing. You guys need to check in your breathing. Are you breathing right? I wasn't. I wasn't breathing right. And even moments now, I have to be very intentional about my
the way
breath.
You're breathing. It's very important. Like even sometimes when I can't sleep, when I'm, like, I have to be up at 7 a.m. tomorrow, so I need to be in bed before midnight. I close my eyes. I told you guys, like sometimes, I close my eyes and just try to be. And I find that, my mind is racing or whatever, but I just practice. I was just like, okay, I'm going to take 5 deep breaths. I'm going to do this thing 5 times. Guys, by the time I'm on the 5th, I'm like drifting away. So if anybody knows anything about like the importance of breathing properly, it's me. And it doesn't mean that I still like I'm breathing right daily or, as I go through my day. But when I do remember, or sometimes when I feel myself, like when I feel tension or when I feel myself getting angry, like I'm driving, I find myself getting the angriest when I'm driving in Lagos. I don't know how to do it. And
it's pretty mad place to drive.
So when I find something upsetting me and like, I have to remember to breathe. And that breathing takes away what might have otherwise been said or been done, or it's very important. But I'm still
like
learning
magic.
daily. I'm still learning daily. It's tough because having to breathe properly daily, every second, every moment, it takes you being mindful. And a lot of us operate on autopilot because it's easier to not be mindful. If you have to pay attention then
to every single thing.
Yeah, it's hard.
That's exhausting in itself.
It is exhausting, but unfortunately we're just going to have to find a way to do it because we're harming ourselves. Like even like when you do yoga and you get into a particular pose and you're like, oh, this is a bit tough. The moment you start breathing,
old woman limbs,
but the moment
joints
you start
are
breathing, you find yourself easing into it, like okay, that's not so bad. When I started
the
breathing,
stretches, you're going further, further and further. Oh, fantastic. Keturah?
So for me, it's like you said, when something happens, when that trigger comes, right, it's easier to just, burst open. But over the years, what I've learned is just to keep quiet for like 5-10 seconds.
Oh, you're amazing at that.
And just breathe. And in that 5, it's a really short time, but it's also long enough for me to analyze the different scenarios of how this could play out, right? Like, I remember I was upset one day, and then, someone comes and she's just, shoving me. Like, it's clearly a joke, right? She was trying to play with me, but in that moment, something, I was not in the mood. And in that moment, something had pissed me prior to that. And, like, my face was red. And I wasn't talking to people around me because I was just, like, trying to calm down. And then, here she comes, shoving. Okay. Oh, God. I just kept quiet because I knew if I opened my mouth,
it will turn into something else.
And then you're just gonna be like, well, I was only touching you now. Why are you angry? So I just kept quiet in that moment. And everyone was like, why did she react that way? She didn't even say anything. She didn't turn and look at you. I was like, see, if I'd opened my mouth at that point, it would have been another story. So at that point in time, something was, traumatizing me. I guess, into trauma, in little trauma. Yeah. And I just needed to be for that moment, right? And I guess, again, being mindful, I realized that I could have just, when I calmed down, I could have said, sorry, I was not in the mood. Something was upsetting me. And that's why I didn't react the way you thought I would. So being mindful helped me to realize I could have handled that in a better way. But not speaking at that moment was also good because,
but you could have taken it a step further.
So for me, it's just like, when things come, and they do come, during the day that would trigger you, try to, set you off your balance, just 5-10 seconds. You won't die. Like, even if you still want to, react, right? You would have thought through the response and maybe respond, without diluting the core message. You would handle it tactfully. The approach would be different.
It makes a whole heap of difference.
Yeah, it does.
To the outcomes of your engagements, to your business transactions, because we're all customer facing. Well, I'm customer facing a lot of the time, and it can be stressful in itself as well. Yeah. So both business as well as your personal life, just your daily interactions. If you just pause, it's not actually as bad as it feels in that moment. Oh, there's been I honestly, I can go on and on. Moments where I've just lost it, absolutely just lost it. And then you have that time to reflect and you're like, okay, maybe you overreacted here. But like you said, it doesn't kill you to just pause. And I do find that the moments where I have the strength to pause, and I'm also finding out that for me, the worse the situation is, the easier it is for me to pause.
I agree with you, actually.
It's the little things that I'll probably respond to, but the ones that I really like, people are like, if you respond and if you react, you are well within your rights to. I find that I'm very calm.
You handle it. Yeah.
I'm super calm, actually scary calm. But only God knows what's actually going on internally as well. I can't tell you, it's not that great. But outwardly, my behavior is incredibly calm to the point where it's actually quite scary. And then I take the time, and then I realize that I can handle it, or I can deal with it in this way. But the moments where you do lose it, and you're able to reflect, it's like, okay, it couldn't have killed you to just keep quiet.
To calm down.
Just calm down,
Situations like this used to happen to me. Like, it's very hard for me to pretend. I'm really expressive. Not necessarily talking, but my face betrays me a lot. So sometimes
face betrays.
Yeah, it does. But like sometimes,
all of us, darling.
Sometimes in a relationship, I'm in a relationship with someone and they say something that obviously pisses me off. I can't hide it. But one thing I've learned to do now is like, okay, don't move the face, because sometimes
poker face.
Yeah, because sometimes what I'm saying might not actually be that bad, but the way that I'm saying it, or the way that my face is saying it, might upset the person even more and turn them, turn the whole situation into something else. So I've learned to control my face. Like, okay, I don't have to wear my thoughts on my face all the time. Yes. Sometimes I should internalize it and then react. But those people that know me know well enough that in this situation, if she's completely calm, she must be really upset. It's happened to me where someone said something to me, right? To the average person, it would be nothing. But obviously, because of the history between me and this person and things that happened prior, that sentence, those symbols, very loaded. Just
triggered you.
Yeah, but my response was very,
nonchalant,
calm, just no, thank you, whatever. Okay. And his response was like, don't shout at me. Why did you shout? I didn't shout. But because he knows me very well, he knew that I was screaming on the inside.
Oh, wow.
Screaming, but I was able to just be like, and to the average person, be like, oh, you handled that very well, but you knew,
yes.
I'm like, yeah, no, thank you.
All right, ladies, we can talk for hours, and we do actually don't we? Yeah. We off camera. But, I just wanted to say thank you, because I think this conversation was therapy.
It was.
Most conversations we have is like therapy, and I enjoy them thoroughly. So thank you so much for taking the time to come and chat with me today.
Thanks for having us.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope you guys have taken a few nuggets from our conversation. It's not easy when you're going on this entrepreneurial journey. It's incredibly, incredibly tough, both physically, emotionally, mentally. But I hope you're having those moments and you're checking in with yourself to make sure that you're really taking care of yourself and you are being kind to yourself, and you're operating within a space of just calm, you're breathing, and you're being compassionate to not just yourself but to others as well. Have a fantastic week, guys, and please don't forget to be extraordinary in the way that only you can be. Take care, guys. Bye. This is the final episode for season 1 of Susu podcast. Wow, that has gone so quickly. I just want to take a moment to say thank you to all of our guests who took time out of their busy schedules to share their wisdom with me. I also want to thank all of our listeners for tuning in. Thank you for commenting, liking, and sharing. We know you can be listening to any podcast in the world, but you chose Susu. We look forward to giving you even more inspirational stories and shedding even more light on how we can all grow as entrepreneurs in the next season. See you soon, guys.